you need to be a politician to keep the job. That's why Laurinaitis, that's why Pritchard's there. You need to. It's part of the job, bro.
Well, let's shoot from the hip, ladies and gentlemen. John Laurinaitis was released from People Power. Johnny Boy. He was released from WWE during the Vince McMahon saga, and he somehow had some type of affiliation with it. Could he have been the fall guy? We don't know, ladies and gentlemen, but he unfortunately was released as well from the WWE. This is what Jim Ross had to say about it. He said, "I had a hard time as time went on trusting Laurinaitis. That's sad to say. I hired him. I gave him a job when he needed it. I don't think he treated me quite right. He just wanted to show Vince that he was a better manager than JR and all these things. So now his blank is without a job, and he deserves the GD misery that he's living, that I perceive that he's living, and I didn't like how he treated me." Now, let's talk about John Laurinaitis based on the time worked with him. So, Vince, you worked with him first.
Yeah.
Dick, you worked with him second. And so how was working with John Laurinaitis back in 2000, Vince?
Bro, I want to go back a little bit first because I want to tell you about JR. Bro, in all the wrestling companies I worked with and all the people that were in a spot that was equivalent to JR, I can sit here and tell you, bro, that out of all of them I ever worked with, including John Laurinaitis and Bischoff and Pritchard, and you can go on down the line, every single one of them, bro, I swear to God, from the day I worked with them to the day I left, JR was a straight shooter, bro. No politics, no burying you behind your back, telling you what was on your mind, telling Vince what was on his mind. And I have so much respect for the guy because of that. Because, bro, they're all freaking politicians. And you need to be a politician to keep the job. That's why Laurinaitis, that's why Pritchard's there. You need to. It's part of the job, bro. But JR never, ever, ever played that card. And what he's saying, bro, because I read that interview, bro, I saw Laurinaitis working the same way around Eric Bischoff. When I was at WCW, Bischoff hired Laurinaitis. And, bro, listen, Laurinaitis kissed his ass. But, to me, that's not out of the norm. That's how you keep a job for so many years. But JR proved when you're good at your job, bro, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. JR never did that, bro, because he was the best at his job.
Well said. East, working with Johnny Boy. How was it, man?
He's a real gunslinger, I can tell you that much. Wink, wink. Correct me if I'm wrong, Uncle Vince, but in WCW, John was the finish guy, right? Where he was coming up with like really great finishes to great matches and things like that. That's kind of his specialty. WCW is bought by the WWE, so he's kind of a man without an island, or on an island, however people say that phrase. And then Jim Ross gave him the job, where therefore Jim Ross was eventually undercut by John Laurinaitis to become the head of talent relations. I never worked for JR, but from all tales and success stories, it seemed that his run as lead commentator and head of talent relations, like, he loved that job. I mean, if you listen to his podcast and him talking about him just being a manager, like a leader of men and women and a manager of talent, and like his sports background where I am the general manager of like the greatest franchise ever, and he did assemble some of the, greatest wrestling rosters of all time. So you can fault him for that. And, I don't know why that position would change if he was effective at his job, but it seemed that it did. John Laurinaitis, I could say this for one serious fact. He never fired me, so he's cool. In that respect, I could see, based on stories alone, though, that Jim Ross, I know he's a straight shooter. Again, I never worked with him, but I remember working a main event for Impact, and he said, I watched the Impact pay-per-view today. This was good and good and good. And I think I DM'd him, and I'm like, hey, do you have any critiques for the match? And he went and gave them to me. And, they were open and honest and fair. And I'm like, well, shit, thank you. Thank you very much. So,
nice.
And John, like, there would seem to be some sort of, he was a politician. He was a talent relations master. He's been in and out of the position, I think, 2 or 3 times now. My only dealings with him, as far as like, he did sign me and he did not ever fire me, but I was only a developmental guy at the time, and I was kind of dealing with his underlings. I think he had a hard time, like trying so hard to transition wrestling and not using wrestling people in wrestling positions, whether it was talent or whether it was office. So he always had these dipshit stooges, sorry, I didn't cue you up, these idiotic stooges like a Ty Bailey and like these goofy, bastards that he can eat on for when he wanted to like get some dirty things done, as far as like, or like if he wanted to fire Derek Bateman, he's not worth my time, but Ty, kind of. So he's always been good to me, as far as I know, and I do know he's probably did a lot of things to maintain his position, and you can't fault him for that. So let's look at that. That's 2000 to 2022. That's 22 years at a very high level position with stock options and guarantees and employee benefits. I don't know the context, and I'm always taken out of context, but with JR's kind of like rant on that, it's a little disheartening because, John Laurinaitis isn't going to be, begging or eating soup out of a can or working a glory hole. Like, he's probably done pretty good, and he's not going to suffer too much.